JCPenney, Lord & Taylor, Century 21, department stores, GNC, just to name a few big names that have filed for bankruptcy. Many big brands shutting up shop have been around for over 100 years, yet they just couldn't survive, unlike these 10 companies who managed to make a comeback. Number 1. Avon. There's nothing more satisfying than opening a brand new Avon catalog. The smell of the freshly printed pages, the allure of looking younger, prettier, and softer, while scratching every rub and sniff sample until they all smell the same. Avon has been around since 1886, and in 2021, mid-pandemic, it's more relevant than ever before. Things started to go wrinkly around 2014 when global sales had dropped for 5 years straight, and sales in North America were down 18% for that year. The company were under scrutiny surrounding allegations of bribery in China and paid $135 million after admitting to being guilty. It looked like Avon was about to dry up. However, they bounced back with new trade names, new headquarters in London, a few acquisitions, and then the company for women was bought by Brazilian beauty company Natura for over $2 billion via a share swap. And ding dong, Avon's back and became one of the largest beauty companies in the world, bringing in over $10 billion in annual revenue for Natura. Number 2. Best Buy. Perhaps they got their inspiration from Julie Andrews, but when Best Buy began in 1966, it was called The Sound of Music. Any quick Google search will tell you that Best Buy is doing pretty well. They're partnering up with Apple and Lively app to offer support to the elderly. As Best Buy said, Best Buy Health is helping to make it easier for older adults to stay safe, healthy, and connected by offering a full array of health and safety services available on Apple Watch. But things weren't always so healthy for Best Buy. By the time 2010 rolled around, sales and profits were dismal, and in 2012, the details of the relationship between the then CEO Brian Dunn and a 29-year-old employee emerged, and it didn't reflect very well on the company. When Hubert Jolly took over the position as CEO, he turned the place around with a major focus on integrating the online and in-store experience. And Aluxers, for expert service with no price, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Number 3. Apple. In our video 15 Things You Didn't Know About Tim Cook, we mentioned when Steve Jobs persuaded Cook to join Apple in 1998, the company was almost bankrupt. Today, it has a market value of $2 trillion. Can you imagine a world without Apple? Yet, it was almost a reality. Steve Jobs later revealed, in 1997, Apple was on the ropes. The Silicon Valley pioneer was being decimated by Microsoft and its many partners in the personal computer market. It had just cut a third of its workforce, and it was about 90 days from going broke. It took guts and determination, rapid innovation, and some revolutionary practices to turn Apple around. And these days, bringing an Apple to school has a completely different meaning to what it used to. Number 4. Crocs. Purchasing a pair of Crocs was once considered the ultimate form of contraception, but those days are gone. So are the days where the only place it was considered okay to wear them was if you were in the medical industry, culinary industry, or a toddler. Introduced in 2002, the appeal of Crocs has risen and fallen almost as many times as Madonna has given her final performance. And in 2018, Crocs announced they would close all of their manufacturing facilities and 16 retail stores. And what appeared to be the end was a chance for the brand to recalibrate and reinvent itself. From near bankruptcy, CEO Andrew Reeves has done a phenomenal job in reinventing the brand. Who would have thought that Crocs would ever feature in a rap song in a positive light? But Post Malone is a huge fan and has collaborated with the brand several times. His song I'm Gonna Be says, "Richard Mille my watch, $1,000 Crocs. We crock you not." Number 5. IBM. Actor Steve Coogan and comedian Jimmy Fallon's fathers worked at IBM for a long time, and IBM was at the top of their game. Nicknamed Big Blue, IBM employs 350,000 people, with several of their employees winning Nobel Prizes, Turing Awards, National Medals of Technology, and National Medals of Science. It's hard to imagine that IBM nearly didn't survive the early 90s. Forbes.com confirmed that IBM was losing more money than any company had ever lost in US history, $8.1 billion lost in the 1992 financial year. After hiring a new CEO in 1993, things started to change. What was unusual about hiring the new CEO, Lou Gerstner, was that he had no experience in the computing world, and it was the first time IBM had hired someone outside of their ranks since 1914. Gerstner implemented many changes, and today, the company's rated 100% on its index of gay friendliness. It's the first major company worldwide to not use genetic information in employment decisions, making its worth roughly $115 billion. Number 6. Nokia. Nokia customers weren't really feeling connected between 2007 and 2012 when Nokia lost 96% of their market share. How does one get there from being the best-selling mobile phone brand in the world? Even when the iPhone was introduced back in 2007, it didn't majorly affect Nokia. However, over time, the quality of Nokia's phones declined and people were opting for better operating systems. Team that up with arrogant top-level managers with a lack of vision, and you have a company bound to be disconnected. In 2012, Nokia lost $3 billion and sold their smartphone business to Microsoft. These days, Nokia is heavily invested in 5G, but as Charlotte Gifford wrote for theneweconomy.com, at Nokia, is history doomed to repeat itself? Only time will tell. Number 7. Chrysler. Founded in 1925 by Walter Chrysler, the brand enjoyed decades of upward trends since its inception. However, the US automaker had several challenges along the way that almost saw the end of the iconic brand. The oil crisis, dwindling sales, and foreign competition put Chrysler in jeopardy during the 70s. At that stage, the government had to bail out the company to the tune of $1.5 billion. Under the leadership of Lee Iacocca, who had been fired by Ford in 1978, with Ford citing, "Sometimes you just don't like somebody." So Iacocca became president of Chrysler. In 1984, Iacocca and Chrysler recorded record profits with over $2.4 billion. In April 2009, Chrysler once again fell on hard times and was forced into bankruptcy. Chrysler, along with GM and Ford, were given a lifeline of $80 billion by the Troubled Asset Relief Program and has since recovered. Now, let's gear down to number 8. Hostess Brands. Despite the myth that Twinkies can last a lifetime, nobody has ever left one on a shelf long enough to find out. Twinkies were created by James Stewart in 1930. The vanilla cream was originally banana, which saw a massive resurgence when King Kong was released in 2005. Twinkie sales dropped 20% in 2011, with parent company Hostess citing a shift to healthier eating being the cause of the decline. In 2012, Hostess announced they would be winding down operations and had filed a motion for the U.S. bankruptcy court seeking permission to close its business and sell its assets, including its iconic brands and facilities. Shortly thereafter, all bakery operations were suspended. Then bring in billionaire investor C. Dean Metropoulos and private equity firm Apollo Global and a buyout of $410 million, and Twinkies are back in business. Number 9. Converse. Selena Gomez once said, "My perfect guy wears Converse, is totally laid back, and doesn't worry about being cool." If history hadn't been kind to Converse, she may have quoted something completely different, like, "My perfect guy wears Crocs, is totally laid back, and doesn't worry about being cool." Introduced as the Converse Rubber Company in 1908, it was a few years later the All-Star sneaker was released. Then the perfect collaboration with Charles Chuck Taylor, and America had the best-selling basketball shoe they'd ever had. The Great Depression hit hard in 1929, but they skidded through. The brand changed hands several times and eventually made unprecedented sales when it was bought by Allied Corporation in 1979. With the influx of intense competition, sales began to wane. By 2001, Converse filed for bankruptcy. Fast forward to 2003, though, Nike purchased the brand for $305 million, and they continue to stand the test of time. Number 10. Lego. This toy staple has entertained children since 1932, but with the rise of digital entertainment, the desire for Lego was dwindling faster than the cash in your wallet. By the time 2003 rolled around, the future of Lego wasn't so bright. Lego was $800 million in debt and nearing bankruptcy. When Jürgen Vig Knudstorp took over as CEO in 2004, he made some changes. He reduced the number of Lego parts in circulation from 13,000 to 7,000 and moved the manufacturing away from Denmark, where it was extremely pricey, to less expensive areas like Mexico and Central Europe. Lego introduced iconic sets and the Lego Friends line, and by 2018, the brand had grown its annual revenues to $5.6 billion, and they continue to grow brick by brick. And Aluxers, remember, we have fabulous merch available so you can let the world know you're an Aluxer. Go to Alux.com/merch. All right, Aluxers, which of these companies are you the happiest made a comeback? Let us know in the comments. And of course, you stuck with us until the end. Here's your bonus. The Marvel brand is as much a household name as Campbell's, but it too had a near-death experience. During the 90s, the comic book industry started to crumble, and Marvel filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It was Isaac Perlmutter's Toy Biz that ultimately rescued the brand. The toy manufacturer's CEO, Avi Arad, worked tirelessly to prove the brand was worth saving, and he was right. Marvel had to make some big sacrifices in the process, like selling the film rights of Spider-Man to Sony, Hulk to Paramount, and Daredevil, X-Men, and the Fantastic Four to 21st Century Fox. But today, the Marvel brand is worth more than $10 billion. Thanks for watching, Aluxers. We're so glad you joined us today. Remember to subscribe to our channel for more videos and leave us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this one.